Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the second edition of our Future of Food conference. This conference is an annual opportunity to shape the future of food through innovation and policy. What are the challenges and opportunities ahead of us, and how can we work together to reach impact goals, and specifically the UN Sustainable Development Goals, as well as the EU Farm to Fork strategy? The COVID-19 pandemic is causing a lot of suffering to people all over the world. The strict but very necessary measures to contain the spread of the virus are hurting our society, our culture, and our economy in all sectors. The agri-food sector is no exception, and this is something that we will discuss in one of the sessions we are hosting tomorrow, where Professor Grunert from Aarhus University will present the results of a study on how the pandemic has influenced consumer behavior in food. Having a virtual event like this enables us to connect with many people who are following us from abroad. About 1,200 people registered to the event, and more than 900 of them are based outside Belgium, and a great many are from outside of Europe. Today, we will start with a session dedicated to the EU Farm to Fork strategy and the role of consumers in it. With the introduction of that strategy 6 months ago, policymakers acknowledged that the future of food is dependent, now more than ever, on innovative solutions that can help us meet the ambitious targets set out by the strategy. The debate that we will have to have with you will focus on the how question. How do we meet those targets? How do we achieve the transition to a more sustainable food system? The Farm to Fork strategy is the framework, but now we need to fill this frame with actions. Innovation is a large part of the answer. If done right, it can be a positive, disruptive force that brings change. Best realized through a combination of agri-food sector practices and policy interventions, as well as market pull based on consumer trends, choices, and preferences. Innovation can empower consumers to make sustainable and healthy choices, just as the Farm to Fork strategy recognizes. But how are we going to mobilize the great forces of consumer choice and behavior to help Europe achieve this transformation, while at the same time catering for the needs of all the players in the value chain, starting with the farmers? Let me share 3 recommendations which might inspire the debates which will follow in the conference. Firstly, policymakers and industry professionals must place consumers at the heart of innovation strategies moving forward and not leave them at the margins. This means consumers need to have a place in our innovation ecosystems and in our research and innovation projects. Horizon Europe encourages researchers to do so, but we're still very far from a proper rethink of the innovation process around the needs of consumers. We need to redesign R&I activities so as to build opportunities for co-creation with consumers. Secondly, consumer information is key. Prices are good pieces of information, but today this is not enough. The agri-food industry is expected to deliver a higher level of transparency. We need solutions to capture information along the entire value chain and make it available to consumers. This will help us to achieve a higher level of consumer trust. Technology can be of great help here, and we see considerable potential for the application of blockchain and AI in this field. We also need to find ways to inform consumers about the environmental and carbon footprint of a product, helping them to understand the process of the product's creation and appreciate its value, not only for the economy, but also for society and the environment. We will discuss these topics in one of the breakout sessions today, and to set the scene, we will also hear about the importance of trust and what drives consumer trust. Thirdly, affordability remains a key concern, especially in the current economic context. The challenge is to reconcile the need for an affordable price with the need for a fair reward for those who produce the food, starting especially with the farmers. The interests of consumers and farmers should in actual fact go hand in hand, not against one another. We are eager to discuss with you how we can better support farmers embrace the transformation of the food system. Commissioner Wojciechowski will address this point in his opening speech. One of the breakout sessions of this morning will look at the provisions of skills to farmers and other key conditions to enable them to deliver on the farm to fork strategy. Before giving the floor to the commissioner, however, we will meet with an excellent innovation expert who will talk to us about the mission and role of the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, or EIT for short, and why the EIT is particularly well suited to help Europe solve big challenges such as those set out by the EU Farm to Fork strategy. The expert, of course, is no other than Gioia Ghezzi, the chairperson of the EIT. Besides the EIT, Gioia is also active in a number of additional important boards and is a member of the scientific committee of the Italian Industry Federation, Confindustria. Her career includes roles such as group chair of Ferrovie dello Stato Italiane for 3 years and CEO of a group company of Zurich Insurance Group, as well as over 11 years with McKinsey & Company as a partner in their London office. Gioia earned a degree in theoretical physics at the University of Milan and an MBA from London Business School. After her introductory speech, I will go ahead and ask Gioia a few questions. Gioia, please share some thoughts with our audience. The floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Andy. It's a pleasure to be here with you. The format of this conference in this pandemic year makes perhaps it harder to follow the discussions for a whole day, but I would encourage you to really exploit all the features of these platforms to interact and discuss the topic of food. In Europe, we've come to take food for granted. And the COVID pandemic made us suddenly realize that it isn't. That there are a number of weaknesses in the value chain, in the logistics, and that we do need to continuously innovate and think how to change and improve the way we bring food on the table, from the farms. It is a very complex mechanism that does need to change for a number of reasons. First and foremost, the sustainability imperative and the need that we all feel as consumers to eat something that we trust is good for us, is fair, as Andy just said, to everyone who contributed to bring it to our tables, and that does not damage the environment, or even better, improves it. This is actually an enormous challenge. The food industry, even more than other industries, is still very fragmented. And it does require an enormous effort, both of innovation and of scale-up of innovation to get there. The European Institute of Innovation and Technology is extremely proud to have foreseen this challenge years ago now, and to have invested, Europe has invested in this issue for a number of years. What do? We bring innovation forward by creating ecosystems. The European Institute of Technology is already the biggest innovation ecosystem that exists in Europe. We do that, we scale up innovation by bringing together education, entrepreneurial skills, research, and industry, business. And through that, we have a very proven model that scales up innovation across Europe. Well, now more than ever, as the COVID has shown to us all, we need to multiplicate our efforts to ensure that we have impact. A lot of the technologies are already there, but they are not commercialized, distributed, implemented at scale to really have a step change in the way we go from farm to fork. So this is what we will be discussing over the next couple of days, and I'm very, very excited that the EIT Food Kick has organized this two-day event, which I think is very much needed. So I look forward to our discussion.
Thank you, Gioia. Really appreciate your opening remarks. Just a few questions for you, if I may. So first of all, we are at the end of an intense period of discussions and negotiations on the future of the EIT itself. How can the strengthened EIT model introduced by the new regulation and the strategic innovation agenda that's just been passed help us shape the future of food and contribute to key EU priorities such as the farm to fork strategy?
Well, in a number of ways, I think. First and foremost, the EIT has existed now for 10 years. And over these 10 years, we have experimented with different models to trigger and scale up innovation. Now we know how to do that. We know what works and what doesn't. So the next 10 years will be the years of impact and delivery and accelerated impact and delivery. We will be ever more connected in bringing together a number of challenges. The EIT, as you know, Andy, but just for the audience, is active in the field of food, but obviously in many other fields as well. For example, we are very active in climate change. We are very active in digital. We are very active in healthcare. These are all topics that are very close to the topic of food because we need to decrease very, very fast the carbon footprint of the food value chain. We need for that, a digitalization of the industry, starting in agriculture. We do need to ensure that what we eat is healthy and so on and so forth. So in the discussions at the Commission, there is enormous focus with the new Green Deal on all of the topics I mentioned. And this will help us to have more impact on food. We will also be able to plan better, to plan over several years, and therefore, pace ourselves in effecting change.
Thank you, Gioia. It'll definitely be a very exciting and suspense-filled 10 years coming up now. So thank you for your insights on this. The second question I'm going to ask is, thinking about the challenges of the future of food, such as the green and digital transition, what do you think are the education needs that the EIT can help to address with its model and its strong focus on entrepreneurial education specifically?
Yeah, it's an enormous challenge. First of all, because particularly on the agricultural side, but not exclusively, there is immense fragmentation. So I think that we need to act collectively in two ways. One, we need more entrepreneurs that are able to bring innovation to every step of the value chain on one side. On the other, we need, again, collectively as an industry, to bring the education down to every single worker in this value chain, which is an enormous effort, but it can be done if we all play our part, the very big companies, the very innovative partners that you have in universities, in schools, all along the value chain. So twofold, we need to scale up innovations. Often we do have the ideas, but their commercialization, their expansion, their arrival to the place where they could really make a difference is impaired. That's where we need to act, and we need more, quite simply, more entrepreneurs all across Europe, all along the food value chain. I repeat, in the agriculture, in the logistics of it, in the industry, the processing industry, and in distribution. If we go on doing things the way we've done things up to now, we will get the same results. We do not want the same results. We want more sustainable food. Equally, we want it affordable, as you said, and healthy. So something has to change, or perhaps plenty of things have to change.
Thank you, Gioia. Certainly a call to action to both innovators and policymakers by the sound of it. Now, last question. What is your advice to EIT Food and its partners, including also, of course, our community of startups and scale-ups, to attract investments in order to step up those solutions for the food system and to ensure financial sustainability of our projects in the longer term?
Well, the EIT Food is there to help, obviously. In what way? It's the networking, network. It's bringing together the investments. It's the scouting for the most promising innovative ideas and startups. It's the help, as I mentioned before, in commercializing these ideas. If you do much ambitious new startups or small companies with the power of our partners network in EIT Food, but also in the other activities that the EIT does have, as I was mentioning, in digital, in climate change, in healthcare, and so on and so forth, we can really support the innovative startups in commercializing, in scaling up, in being adopted, in their products and services being adopted much faster. So I think that the trick is really the strengthening of collaboration with private sector players that do play, a crucial role here.
Thank you, Gioia. It's a really great point about networking and collaboration. which of course we fully embrace. We work and collaborate with many organizations, including other KICs here within the EIT family of KICs, but also with other organizations from around the world. So nobody can do this alone, right? And that's exactly right. That's what attracts the investments. Thank you so much, Gioia. Always really great to get your insights. Thank you so much again.
Have a good conference.
Thank you.